definitely a cost to the taxpayers of this city, and we think we need to take every action that we can take to prevent illegal dumping.
One of the council members asked about cameras. When might they be in service, and how many locations might be monitored, do you think?
We're working with the state of California through a grant application at this time to obtain money for cameras, and we would like to see cameras spread throughout the entire city. The number will be determined on the basis of which sites are most active, and we have not made a final determination on that at this time.
How can our viewers and residents help stop the practice, illegal and unhealthy practice of illegal dumping?
Well, one of the first things we ask the residents to do is, when hiring a waste hauler, to please only hire licensed, legitimate waste haulers. And it's somewhat evident if you're getting a legitimate hauler by the price they're charging you. Obviously, if the price is too low, then the individual is not charging enough to pay the tip fees when they get to a legal dump, and those items will most likely end up dumped somewhere in the area illegally. And it still comes back to you in a cost as a taxpayer, and then what it does for the blight and quality of life in your neighborhood. We also ask that you report illegal dumping immediately. You can call 311 and report illegal dumping, or you can call us directly at our office number, which is 213-847-6000. You can call either number 24 hours, and we will definitely respond to any incidents of illegal dumping.
Finally, Chief, there are many ways that people can, even without cost, get rid of some of these items. If you have sofas or refrigerators, I mean, certainly the Goodwill in many cases will take them, or the city has a bulky item pickup program.
That's right. The city has bulky item pickup, which can be arranged by also calling 311, and they will put you in contact with the Bureau of Sanitation so you can arrange for that pickup, and they have the information on how many pickups you can get throughout the year. We certainly encourage residents to take advantage of this service. It's a help not only to them, but also to the community in improving the quality of life.
Chief Street Investigator Gary Harris, thanks for coming into Council Week in Review.
Thank you so much for having me.
The ordinance amendment that would enhance the arrest authority for street services investigators was approved by your Los Angeles City Council in a unanimous vote of 13 ayes. A motion by Janice Hahn to place on an election ballot a structured revenue source to provide $50 million for gang prevention and intervention programs was considered by your Los Angeles City Council. Ms. Hahn, who will join us later in the program, stands to explain why she authored this motion.
What we have before us today is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to attack gang violence from a different aspect, from prevention, intervention, and after school. We've just had a comprehensive report by Connie Rice. It's the first time the City of Los Angeles has ever looked at comprehensively gang violence in Los Angeles, how we're spending our money, which programs work, which programs don't work, and where we need to go from here to have a comprehensive strategy to attack gangs, not just from suppression, although we need suppression. We need more law enforcement. We need to crack down in no uncertain terms on these gangs. But Connie Rice even said, we need to now also supplement suppression with prevention. We need to help law enforcement. We need to get on the front end of kids' lives, because we know that if we can prevent a child from going into gangs in the first place, we have a much better chance than once they become a hardcore criminal.
District 6 Council member Tony Cardenas, who chairs the ad hoc committee on gang violence and youth development, says he doesn't see being ready for the May ballot and talks about the toughest part of his day.
I have lost a lot of sleep over trying to figure out how I could vote for this, for it to potentially go on the May ballot. And at this time, I don't see, there's no way that I can conceive of that we will be ready to look the voters in the eye and tell them we know how to hold ourselves accountable, we have the programs identified that we want to move forward and use your money for, we know what to do, and we're going to save lives the right way, not the way we've been doing it in the past. We need to get our house in order first. In February of this year, in March, and in April and May of this year, I don't see how we could possibly do that in that short a time frame. I see that possibly, if we're fortunate, by this summer we will be able to do that. And then perhaps, if this is one of the solutions, go to the ballot in early 2008. That's my best advice to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, members of this council. And I do think about my family as well. The toughest part of my day is the 7 or 8 minutes that my two boys, two Latino males, 12 and 13 years old, are walking the streets of Los Angeles from their bus stop to our home. You don't think I'm serious about this matter? All it takes is some idiot to drive around the corner and pull out a gun and ask them where they're from. This is a serious matter. I wish we had the answer yesterday. The only thing that I can promise you, that I'm giving it everything that I can to make sure we come up with the answers as soon as possible.
And joining us now is District 15 Councilmember Janice Hahn. Ms. Hahn, welcome back to Council Week in Review.
Thanks, Jack. It's good to be here.
Do we really know how big the gang problem is in Los Angeles? Is there any way to know?
Well, we know it's huge, and we know we have about 40,000 gang members in the city of Los Angeles, and we know that we have about 270 murders a year that are attributed to gang violence. So the problem's big, it's getting bigger, and we've got to do something about it.
And it's been around for quite a while. Of course, there have been some programs and some ideas that have been tried. Do we know if any of them have been effective at all?
We do know that some of these programs have been effective. What we're finding out, though, is that we're spending the most of our dollars on suppression, on law enforcement, on arrest. And we know that since we've been having this war on gangs for the last 20 years in the city of Los Angeles, that we've arrested about 450,000 people, and yet the problem's getting worse. We have 7 times the number of gangs, and we have 2 times as many gang members. So we need to spend more money on the preventive and intervention programs and after-school programs, because we need to attack this problem from the front end. We've got to learn to keep kids from joining gangs in the first place.
You were promoting a possibility of a parcel tax to fund part of that. Are those the exact things that you would want to see funded with that parcel tax?
Exactly. I'd like to raise $50 million from residents of Los Angeles to help us fight this war on gangs. And I want that money to go specifically to gang prevention, intervention, and particularly after-school programs, because we know that if we spend money on keeping kids from joining gangs in the first place or getting them when they're at risk, that is a much better use of our money and a better investment long-term in solving gang violence in Los Angeles.
Well, I don't have to tell you there have been lots of things tried, and lots of things have been deemed either a slight success or a total failure. And there's a great deal of criticism about one of the current anti-gang programs we have, Bridges 2.
Well, part of what we know is that a lot of these programs haven't been funded enough. For instance, we've spent about $80 million in the city of Los Angeles to fight gang violence, but almost 2/3 of that has gone towards suppression, towards law enforcement, which is good, and we need more law enforcement officers cracking down on these gangs, but we haven't funded these programs enough. So we're not quite sure that if they're just ineffective because they haven't worked, or we really haven't been able to fund them to the level to make them effective. For instance, in Bridges, we have gang intervention workers. Well, with 40,000 gang members, we only have 61 intervention workers, and these are the men and women that are out there on the streets really trying to turn these hardcore gang members around. So we just haven't funded them to the level to make them successful, in my opinion.
Well, you're talking about some of the money involved in, for example, your proposal. How much would this work out per parcel, this property tax that you're proposing? And of course, people have already criticized the idea as perhaps being unfair in the way it's assessed, to who it's assessed. Well,
this will cost each parcel a little more than $5 a month, about $5.50 a month, and that will raise $50 billion, again, to go towards fighting gang violence on the front end, in prevention, in the schools, in after-school programs. And I feel that people would be willing to pay a little more than $5 a month to turn the tide on gang violence. Gang violence affects everyone, and it affects property values. It affects businesses located in Los Angeles. It affects our tourism industry, which is the second largest industry in the city. So I think people believe that we need to take a new tack towards gang violence. We can't arrest our way out of this problem, and I think they'll be willing to reach in their pockets and pay just a little more than $5 a month to solve this problem long term.
That may in fact be the best quote so far that anybody's tossed out. We can't arrest our way out of the gang problem. But some other people are saying, well, gosh, that's mostly it's downtown. It's south of the 10 freeway. Why should those of us out in the West Valley or those of us in San Pedro pay for this? And I think your answer would be, it's everywhere and it's growing.
It is. In fact, we've had an increase of about 42% of gang crimes in the San Fernando Valley. And gangs, don't necessarily stick in one part of the city. They saturate the whole city. And our young kids are afraid to walk to school, so we're not educating the next workforce. And again, let's take tourism. For every 4% increase in tourism, that adds $12 million to the general fund. And that's the money that pays for our streets and our sidewalks and our police and our fire. So if tourism is being harmed by gang violence, that affects everyone in the city of Los Angeles. And I think everybody understands that.
We also understand that it's been around for a while, it's growing, and nobody so far has really been able to get an effective handle around it. And I'm sure somebody's going to say, what makes you think that your plan would work? What makes us think we even have an idea of what would work? Are there metrics to measure these things?
Well, because what we have been trying has not worked. As I said, we've had a war on gangs in the city for the last 20 years. We've arrested 450,000 people. We have gang injunctions. We have more law enforcement. We now have the FBI coming into Los Angeles to try to solve this problem. But it hasn't worked. We need all that, but I think we need prevention as well. We need to grow up a generation of kids who will choose not to join a gang. Gangs depend on membership. And if we can wipe out their recruiting efforts, we'll go a long way towards preventing gang violence. Because for every gang that we have a gang injunction on, for every gang member that we arrest, there are other ones growing up who are also joining gangs. And I believe the after-school program is what will really work. First of all, it'll take our kids off the streets and out of harm's way in those very dangerous times between 3 and 6 in the afternoon. And we know that if a kid is in an after-school program, their grades improve. The crime around the school where there's an after-school program decreases. And we know that those kids will graduate with good grades. So it makes sense. We just haven't funded the investment of prevention and intervention in after-school programs like we need. I say let's give this a shot. I believe we have statistics that prove that for every dollar we spend on prevention, we'll reap the benefits tenfold later on in a child's life.
You were just talking about LA's Best, I assume, were you not?
Yes, LA's Best is the program that I want to help fund. And right now, LA's Best is only serving about 26,000 kids. We know we have about 700,000 kids in LA Unified School District. They're only in about, 160 schools in the district. We know there's a lot more schools that they could be in. So I think if every school had an after-school program, and if every school that had an after-school program, every kid that went to that school was eligible for it, then I think we would be able to turn the tide of these young kids joining gangs and then causing the kind of violence that they're causing in the city.
Well, as you referred to a few moments ago, all sorts of people are coming out with all sorts of ideas, including, of course, the great civil rights attorney Connie Rice with a big report that was funded by the city. It was called for by a council committee to create a Department of Neighborhood Safety headed by a gang czar. Possible solution or more bureaucracy there? And, of course, the money that she's talking about as well is big.
I think Connie came back with a very thorough, comprehensive report, which we've never done in the city of Los Angeles, which I think has been important. I'm not a big fan of creating a new department. I'm afraid that might lead to more bureaucracy. And I think if I'm going to ask voters to reach in their pockets and pay, $5 a month, I don't think they're going to want their money to go to another city department to pay employees and to pay bureaucrats. But I think they will agree to pay that money straight to the programs that work, like gang prevention, intervention, and after school. I think Connie said if money was no object and if we really could control a child's life, their family situation, their health care situation, the jobs of their parents and their own job opportunities when they got older, then I think we could have the perfect society. So I think she's given us a roadmap, a blueprint that I think will be very valuable. But for me, what I learned from her report was that we are not spending enough of our dollars in a comprehensive, coordinated strategy to fight gang violence. Yes, we need law enforcement. Yes, we need suppression, but we also need prevention. And she was very clear that the city has never had that political will to put the money into prevention, and she believes that is what will truly pay off to end gang violence.
If I understood portions of her report correctly, it seems to me she was talking about more than $50 million just to ameliorate the problem in one high school and its feeder elementary schools. That's a lot of money citywide. We don't have that kind of money.
No, we don't have that kind of money, and I think that's the Cadillac version of fighting gang violence. But I think we have to start, and I think we have to start with reprioritizing where our current money is being spent, and then I think if the voters will agree to pay $5 a month, that we can raise this extra $50 million, then I think we will have a good handle in this comprehensive strategy. But voters and people want to know that we're spending their money properly. They want accountability, they want transparency, and they want programs that work, and I think we can find that in the next year.
One of the first things that you wanted to do was to get it on the May ballot, but that's not going to happen, obviously. This is probably not going to see any fruits whatsoever from this for, what, a year? Longer?
Well, you know, I have felt overwhelmed by the violence in my own council district. 14-year-old Cheryl Green was gunned down at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, a couple weeks before Christmas. An African-American young girl who was standing in the wrong place at the wrong time in her own neighborhood. And before that, I had a 34-year-old Hispanic man shot a week before her, and for no reason. And so I have felt like we had to do something. I've been feeling overwhelmed by the violence in my council district, so I didn't want to wait, and I wanted to go to the voters in May, because even if they approved it in May, we wouldn't see that money in the city of Los Angeles till 2008. But I could hear my colleagues' frustration and anxiety, and I agreed with them that what we want to do is make sure that this passes, and we need more time to prove to people that when we do raise this money, that we will spend it wisely, and that we will have accountability for how we spend that money. And this will give us a year at least to study these existing programs, analyze them, audit them, so we make sure that programs like GAP, which is the Gang Alternative Program that goes into the 4th grade and teaches kids how to stay out of gangs, that we make sure that this program is producing results, and so that when we do raise this money, the voters will feel confident that it's going in the right place to solve this problem.
Finally and briefly, I know that there's no question in my mind that people come to you, people in your district and elsewhere, and say, Council member, what can we do beyond giving you our money for programs that we're not sure about? What can we do to help with this as individuals, as citizens?
Well, you know, I think people need to really open their eyes, and they need to get involved in their neighborhoods. They need to get involved in their schools. I really think a lot of times these problems, racial tensions, gang-related problems really start in the schools, and everyone needs to just pay attention, keep their eyes open, make sure that kids can walk safely to and from school. But more importantly, I really believe that people can help by agreeing to vote yes when this does come to the ballot. That yes, our property taxes are high and people are spending a lot of money, but this is a problem that affects all of us long term, and Los Angeles will never be the place where people achieve their dreams unless we can finally get a handle on this gang violence and figure out a way to end it.
District 15 Council Member Janice Hahn, thanks for coming and joining us on Council Week in Review.
Thanks, Jack.
A vote of 13 ayes now sends the issue to the city attorney, who will draft language for a future ballot measure. You can listen to city council meetings as well as committee and commission meetings on the telephone by using the city's council phone system. In the downtown area, dial 213-621-CITY. In West LA, dial 310-471-CITY. For the San Pedro area, dial 310-547-CITY. And in the San Fernando Valley, dial 818-904-9450. Just follow the recorded instructions for the meetings you want to hear. And we invite you to address the Los Angeles City Council on any item on the council agenda, as well as during public comment. You may come downtown to City Hall or go to the Van Nuys City Hall and participate via video teleconferencing. And remember, you can watch all Los Angeles City Council meetings live in their entirety on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays beginning at 10 a.m. On Sundays, you can watch the replay of all the week's meetings, also beginning at 10 a.m. Council Week in Review can be seen Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Well, that concludes our program for the week ending January 26, 2007. On behalf of Frank Ayoa and everyone here at Channel 35, I'm Jack Popejoy. Thank you for watching, and please join us for the next Council Week in Review.
You're watching LA City View, Channel 35.
Very good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Los Angeles City Council meeting for Groundhog's Day, February 2nd, 2007. We are here looking for our shadows in Van Nuys, and we meet here every Friday, first Friday of the month in Van Nuys City Hall. And we welcome our viewers on Channel 35, LA City View, which can be seen throughout the city's cable system on Channel 35 every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. We are broadcast live on Channel 35, and we are rebroadcast each evening in a rebroadcast of the day's council meeting. We usually meet in City Hall, room 340, John Ferraro Council Chambers, where people can testify there remotely when we are in Van Nuys, and vice versa when we are downtown. You can always come to Van Nuys and testify remotely. The members of the public are invited to our meetings. They also can testify on items that have not yet had a public hearing, either in committee or full council. Every item that we consider has a public hearing either in our committee, or if it's not been done in the respective committee, we have that in full council. Also, each meeting we have general public comment, which is for items that are not on the agenda but are nevertheless under our jurisdiction. So we invite members of the public to join us for those meetings and to give their testimony. Our agendas are available online at our city's homepage at www.lacity.org. There's also a wealth of information about our committee meetings, the structure of the city council, and important numbers for your elected officials and city departments to access the city services you need to improve the quality of your life here in Los Angeles. You also can watch the city council meetings with live streaming video webcast through the city's homepage at lacity.org. Lastly, you can call in on Council Phone, which is an audio service of the city that allows you through your telephone to listen to the proceedings of the Los Angeles City Council. The number is 213-621-CITY. That number is also available here in the San Fernando Valley at 818-904-9450. On the west side, it's 310-471-CITY. And in San Pedro, it's 310-547-CITY. Excuse me. We are awaiting a full quorum. I want to thank the members of the City Council that are here pursuant to our council rules on time. Council members Labange, Rosendahl, Smith, and Zine. I know Mr. Wesson is here as well. Just ran into him in the garage. And we're expecting a few other council members to join us shortly. But as is custom on Fridays, we have a series of presentations to honor members of our city family and members of the community who have contributed notably to the well-being of our city. And so I'd like to recognize for our first presentation a council member from the 12th District, Council Member Greg Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I'm very pleased to present to you today the winner of the 2005 Presidential Award for Excellence in Math and Science Teaching. I have a big script here my staff wrote for me. I just want to say I have been meeting with the business community in the Chatsworth area recently about what we can do to support business in the area and keep it very vibrant in the Chatsworth area. One thing I've repeatedly heard is they're having a hard time finding qualified employees that have particularly math skills. And I know, as my daughter is a school teacher, come on over here, Peg, please. As my daughter is a school teacher, the one thing that they cannot find enough of is math teachers. And so anyone that goes in the field is really important to us. And as we look to build our communities and make LA really a vibrant business community, we need people with math skills. And to make that happen, we need math teachers. And so I'm very pleased to present to you today Margaret Peg Cagle, who is the winner, as I said, in the 2005 Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science. She has a lot of credentials. First of all, in her background, she went to Woodbury University and UCLA Extension. She received her Bachelor of Architecture from Carnegie Mellon University and has a Master's in Secondary Math Education. The past 3 years, she has participated in the Park City Math Institute, sponsored by the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey, and has both attended and taught at the Northwest Math Interaction at the University of Washington. So she really gets around the education community, and we're very proud of her accomplishments. Also, we're just very proud of what goes on at Lawrence Junior Middle School, which is a highly gifted magnet school. And the studies she brings to that school, in math in particular, is so important. As I said, we are looking to ways to make math cool again.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that came out of my working group is they want to make math cool again.
Yeah.
They want to make people go into engineering, and we're losing a whole segment of society that have engineering skills. And so what you're doing is critically important to the future of Los Angeles and to our children. So we want to congratulate you for your success, for your presidential award, the opportunity to go to the White House and meet the President of the United States, and just for your excellence in math and education. So thank you for being a great teacher, obviously a fantastic teacher, to be an excellent winner by the President, and also in math science, which is not your everyday course study. And so thank you for that. And with that, we have a resolution right here from the council and from me thanking you and congratulating your award of the 2005 recipient of the Presidential Award of Excellence. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I say a few words? We're going to get a math lesson here.
No, I think the councilman absolutely hit it on the head when we're talking about making math cool again. And that doesn't mean drill and kill. We've got to get kids excited, which means we have to have not only competent but excited teachers in the classroom. And I think that everything that we can do to help people to become excited about mathematics and to develop math literacy is going to be better for not only our city but our state and our nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And also, she got a $10,000 grant from the National Science Foundation for her award, so that's great for teaching. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations and thank you so much, Councilmember Smith. Our next presentation will be led by the council member from the 11th District. I want to welcome Bill Rosendahl for our next presentation of CD 11.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the City Council, and folks watching this on Channel 35 throughout this great city. Many times we come on Fridays and have presentations and awards, and we have a lot of city employees that we say thank you, thank you, thank you to, give plaques and tell them how great they were and are. Well, in this particular moment, I got to tell you something. For the last 2 years, since I've been on the government, I have had the incredible pleasure of working with Lydia Kennard. Lydia, come on a little closer so we can see her. And I have to tell you that the mayor, when he appointed her to be head of the airport, bringing her back was a blessing for all of us. Her credibility, her professionalism, and her work ethic is so great that everybody ended up in a room for 3 weeks trying to do an airport settlement. It was Lydia who provided the gravitas, the history, the background, the credibility to everybody in the room. She knew the issues backwards and forwards. And with her great leadership, we all sat there and ended up with a settlement at the airport that for my constituents in Westchester was a godsend. The settlement basically says expansion is no longer where LAX goes, regionalism is where we go, but reinvesting in the infrastructure of that airport, which hasn't happened since 1984, is critical to all of us. It's critical because reinvesting in the infrastructure is what we should be doing all over this great nation on every project, but this is one of the most intense airports in the world. And for us to start doing what we needed to do many years ago only happened because of Lydia's involvement. I'm going to read a few points on paper, but that came from the heart because I've had this wonderful moment of being able to work with her. Lydia is an amazing woman who has given a lot to the city and its airport. She started at LAWA in 1994 as Deputy Executive Director for Design and Construction. I'd like the LAWA folks to come on behind us here a little bit. Those are in the room here. Please, we'd like to show the solidarity here. And family, too. We'd like your lovely daughter to come on up, who's right there right now. Daughter is Marlise. Where's Marlise? Hi, Marlise. Okay. Lydia held the position of Executive Director from 1999 to 2003, and then the mayor, recognizing that he would need a strong and smart leader at the helm, coaxed her back October of 2005. This is truly a public servant, a person that comes back, knows the problems there, but appreciates the mayor and the leadership that he's providing, but more importantly, provides the talent that we need to do what we need to do. So this has been just amazing. Lydia has a number of achievements since returning. I'd like to highlight just a few. Within 3 months of her return as Executive Director, Lydia successfully negotiated the settlement of litigation against LAX Master Plan. Lydia helped to reduce traffic in and around LAX by promoting what has become a very popular and successful flyaway service to Union Station. From all over the city, we have the flyaway now. Lydia has helped us bring the dream of regionalism closer to fruition by committing the resources to reactivate the Southern California Regional Airport Authority, which I now have the pleasure of being chair of. Under Lydia's leadership, LAWA has applied for and received a grant from the federal government to reestablish commercial air service out of L.A. Palmdale, which will be operating this summer. When you talk regionalism, you have to make it happen. She's making it happen with us right now in the Palmdale. The reactivation of the Green Line Task Force to finish the Green Line through LAX. The start of renovation of the Tom Bradley International Terminal and LAWA's willingness to look at ways to make the terminal as green as possible. The South Runway project is underway and will help alleviate the chronic incursions we experience on the South Field. It's always a sad day when the city loses such a valuable person, but we wish Lydia luck in her future endeavors and thank her for her years of service to the city. And I hope we can bring her back in some consulting capacity to advise us as we go further in regionalism. Lydia, it's been an honor to be associated with you. We have the usual plaque, but this time we framed it, and there's the plaque. Let's all take a group photo for everybody. Come on closer.
And while you're posing for the photograph, we have a couple of council members who would like to add their good wishes as well. So, Councilmember Gruhl.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garcetti and Mr. Rosendahl, for acknowledging Lydia. She is one of a kind and a woman who I think has been a role model for so many people in her work and balancing life. And I know when we first met, I just got elected, she was ready to have her child, and I was a few months behind her on that. But I knew if she could do it, I could do it. And that when she came back to City Hall, we were so excited to the airport for her to be part of it, and you have done so much, not only in your career at LAX, but even more so since you have been the general manager and accomplished more in this last year and a half than I think anyone would have expected. And so we know that you are part of the fabric of Los Angeles. You and your family have had the pleasure of knowing your sister as well, and this has really, I think, been a great experience for the city of Los Angeles, and the many accomplishments that Bill Rosendahl mentioned are just a few of the many that have had an impact on the city of Los Angeles. And we know you're not going far, that you'll still be around. And just wanted to add my congratulations to you today, and that we will sincerely miss you, but welcome you in the halls of the City Hall.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations on your time.
Thank you, Ms. Gruhl. Mr. Smith, thanks.
Thank you. Well, Lydia, it's sorry to say goodbye again. We did that once, but you know, when I first met Lydia, actually I met looking at her resume, and I looked at her resume and said, I have never seen a better trained person, professional in my life. Your resume speaks volumes about your abilities, and it's a brilliant resume, but you follow that up being just a wonderful, brilliant person. And I think your first time at the airport was a great learning curve for you, and maybe that time off when you came back let you really focus this last year and a year and a half, because you've really been a tremendous energy over there and focusing the airport once again and getting it moving. And you're a great loss, because you're a great asset to L.A., a wonderful manager, a good person to work with. Now we also see that you're a great mother, and I think that's more important than all those other things. So congratulations on your 2 terms of service. We now have 3 terms in L.A., so you can come back. It's okay. It's a good thing now. So you can come back and see us again and work for us one more time after we raise the family again. So anyway, best luck to you. You're a wonderful person to work with and a great manager, and we're going to miss you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Next speaker is Mr. Wesson.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. You know, I think that, Lydia, you and I have known each other since 1987. And whenever I think about you, I think of 2 words: class act.
Thank you. Thank you.
You've always been professional. I mean, given your family, I mean, what is that? The fruit doesn't fall too far from the tree. I mean, your family has been committed to this city, and I'm sure they're very proud of you. And this is the first opportunity that I've ever had to see this drop-dead gorgeous daughter of yours, who is obviously proud of her mother. But what I want to just wrap it up to say, you've done a phenomenal job. And when you were there, things were stabilized. People felt comfortable. People knew that you were there to do the job. And you will be missed. As Greg said, of course, we'd like to have you come back for a 3rd term to do anything, but you will be missed. The work that you've done has been phenomenal, and I think you've set an example for not just women, but for all people of color, that anything is possible. So it's kind of befitting that on this day that we're going to begin our celebration of African American Heritage Month or History Month or whatever the heck you want to call it, that you're here as a trailblazer for African American women throughout this state, this city, and this country. Anyway, good luck to you in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wesson. The next speaker is Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. I remember the first time we met, before you started having babies, and every time it seems you have babies, you come back to work. I read an article about that. So maybe it's time again. Relax a little bit. No more. A beautiful daughter there.
Thank you.
How old is she?
12.
12 years old. And you get to cut school today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She brought her books.
She brought her books, doing some study on the side. But I know you've done well there. The airport has been obviously controversial. You have weathered those storms. It's been safe for the folks that travel, and it's been an opportunity for you to really give to the city of Los Angeles and the folks that are behind you, obviously, the support. But all those travelers that venture in and out of LAX all the time, and all that you have done to make it work for the people of this region, other regions that visit Southern California. You don't have to worry about the snowstorms, you don't have to worry about closing the airport because of the weather conditions, but to keep those travelers flying in all of the LAWA facilities. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And you did accomplish that, which I remember we discussed. Let's do some more flyaways. You made that major accomplishment. I understand it's doing extremely well to get the travelers in. So congratulations. Enjoy this retirement and whatever the future holds for you and your family, the best to you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hahn is our next speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I certainly just want to rise and add my words of tremendous respect and admiration for you. And it's been amazing watching you, particularly for women. I think for women everywhere and young girls, to see a woman heading up, one of the largest international airports is such a positive, important role model. I mean, it just it speaks volumes to girls on what they can become, what they can achieve in their lives, and that their dreams are not that far-fetched. So I love that. And what a world we live in, and what a world we live in that you've had to really accommodate in terms of air travel, passenger inconvenience, new things happening regularly. Just recently we had the ban on liquids, and what that meant for you to pull together everybody in a very short time and decide how we were going to implement that new plan from TSA. So I think what you've had to work with since 9/11 was something no other director of an airport, I even think even in the future, will ever have to deal with like you have, and you've done it in such a great way. And I also give you great kudos, Lydia, for how you really got the connection between the airport and the community. And your staunch persistence and dedication to make sure that the community benefits package was realized for all of the surrounding communities of that airport really showed a lot of just real wisdom. Again, something no other director of an airport really had to deal with. And I looked at you with admiration and a little bit of envy because, as I used to say, I want that same sort of passion from folks at the Port of Los Angeles to really fight for the community when it's not that popular, when it's not what other airport directors are doing. And you were willing to travel to Washington, D.C. to fight on behalf of the community. And I think you've probably done more to ease the tensions between the surrounding communities of the airport and the air traffic industry. So I really want to congratulate you for the great work you've done. We will miss you.
Thank you.
Maybe this will be just a short retirement too, and next thing you know, we'll be calling you back. But congratulations, and you're one of the best I think that we've ever had and probably ever will have.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Mr. LaBonge.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. Members, Lydia, it is so wonderful to see you and your daughter here, and best wishes to your family on this great transformation from one role to another. Life is a series of chapters, and you have quite a few chapters, all great chapters. And Mr. Rosendahl, I want to thank you for arranging this and to see the great staff behind you. I remember not so long ago, Lydia, there was a very unique moment there. Every top general manager, as when Ms. Hahn spoke about as a role model, and Karen Sisson was out at the airport then, every top manager from the airport just happened to be a woman who were at the center table for the first time some years ago when you were presenting the budget. It was a kind of unique moment, but your leadership has brought that. I just wish you well. I've known you for over 25 years because I'm first working with your dad, the late great architect who designed the building at 6th and Parkview, which is now, it's been a few buildings, but now it's the home of the Mexican Consulate right across from MacArthur Park when it was in the old 4th District, and working with you and your father, and to see you rise. I think that's the great thing in a city is when you see other people who you grow up with and they rise to great roles. And being a leader of the 5th busiest airport in the world, is that correct? 5th busiest world. And we're the 8th largest metropolitan area in the world, 2nd largest city in the United States. The modernization plan that hopefully will see that the regional airports grow, and I just can't say enough about how you corrected the situation when it seemed like it was going the wrong way. Los Angeles is a great city for, you could say, 5 things in our history. I mean, we've got a lot of great things, but the water, certainly from Mulholland, the Port of Los Angeles and Phineas Banning, those people who came before you and developed Mines Field to the airport, and your work on that is truly to be commended because it gets us through this period of time, and we have to do more because it's important to have travel. Next week, members will be coming to the motion with Ms. Hahn to ask us to look into the challenges that this country has laid upon those who come to visit the United States and the barrier that they put up due to the State Department's concerns on issues. I want to see people come to Los Angeles and enjoy this city safely and be able to go home safely all the way around. And I think that's it. Airport is that gateway. So I'm just very proud of you personally, Lydia, because we've kind of grown up opposite and side by side. You're a great resident of the beautiful alluvial fan of Altadena, so you can see this whole view here. I have something for you and your daughter and your family, a loaf of pumpkin bread, if I may add to it, because truly, Lydia Kennard is an angel in the city of angels. Thank you, Lydia.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for those kind words, Mr. Labange, and that great history lesson as always. And I just want to add my good wishes as well, Lydia. That has been extraordinary working with you. I've been a huge fan of yours, and any incarnations you want to come back to the city, and we are more than excited to have you back. But we've been extraordinarily gifted to have you in our presence through different administrations. These are choppy political waters, not just the airport, but the city, and you have been able to navigate them with such grace and such aplomb that for all of us, you really set the standard for what it means to indeed be a public servant. So thank you. May your wings take you to new heights. And certainly the motion to rename the runway Kennard Runway will be expediting through the most controversial one, of course. Just to make sure, because we wouldn't want it to be easy, but congratulations.
Yeah, right.
And with that, we'd love to hear from you.
Just so long it's not the Memorial Runway. Thank you so much, and Councilmember Rosendahl, thank you for this wonderful honor, and to all of you for the very kind words. As I have had almost over a decade now of service to the City of Los Angeles, it has been really my pleasure and honor to serve the residents and the people of Los Angeles, and as I serve the council as well. This is my second tour of duty, and I've made promises to the LAWA staff that I won't return again. But I do hope to be involved in particular, the LAX master plan and the regionalization of our airport system. It's really very important to me. It's something that I've been committed to since I got to the airport system. And it's really important that we enhance the infrastructure and modernize the infrastructure at LAX while also creating new opportunities for people to use other airports in this region. And finally, I just want to thank my family. You can't do the kind of jobs that we all do without a supportive family. I have a wonderful husband who unfortunately was going to be here, but our little son had a fever, so they both couldn't be here. So they're watching on Channel 35, and Marlise and I are representing the family. So I just wanted to thank them for all the support and love that they give me every day, and the opportunity for me to do these kind of things that I really enjoy. So thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you so much. Our next presentation will be given by Councilmember Dennis Zine of the 3rd District. Mr. Zine.
Come on, cheering section. Cheering section. The big envelope. We have 6 minutes. 6 minutes airtime.
6 minutes, that's a long time.
It's almost a Broadway production. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm joined with representatives from the Canoga Park All-American City. It's like we're a chorus line getting ready to go. We are saying goodbye to a lady who's run the Madrid Theater for us for a long time, and moving on to other activities in our neighboring community of Santa Monica. Correct? See, I got that right. Denise has born in London, came to California in the mid-'60s as a teenager. Graduated from Beverly Hills High School, went on to earn a bachelor's theater in education from UC Santa Cruz. Deciding that teaching was not a career for her, she headed to New York to pursue acting. It wasn't for you either. While awaiting stardom, she began sterling silver jewelry. This vocation led to a 22-year career as a designer and jeweler, with her pieces included in several celebrity collections and sold all over the world in galleries and boutiques. In 1999, decided to go back to school, earned an MBA at USC. She combined on-the-job experience, running her own business, with the formal business, which she had obtained at USC, in the service of advancing nonprofit organizations as diverse as USC's Entertainment Technology Center, Teen Line, and several theaters. She has been the general manager of the Madrid Theater since Valley Cultural Center took over management of the venue under contract with the Department of Cultural Affairs in July of 2003. Under Denise's management leadership, the Madrid has expanded its bookings from around 60 usage days per year to more than 290 during 2005. Among their accomplishments have been the development of creative rental agreements that encourage producers and artists performing in the Madrid to present additional performances for the area school children. This agreement facilitated the expansion of Valley Cultural Center's 10-concert summer Monday morning concert series to include a number of additional school performances throughout the year. As a result of her efforts, local school children have been able to experience full-length plays, operas, and ballets, as well as musical comedy, music on historic instruments, modern dance, hip-hop, and tap. I like that. Hip-hop. You got that, right, Gene?
Yes, I got it.
Okay. Almost, Mr. Zine. Keep practicing.
Well, we're not going to do the performance here. Denise serves on the boards of Main Street Canoga Park and the Los Angeles Women's Theater Festival, lives in Los Angeles with her son, Carl, a singer-songwriter with the band. I love this name, Mudlicious.
Mudluscious.
Mudluscious.
Yes.
Mudluscious. Los Angeles City Council congratulates you on your service, dedication to the Madrid Theater and the citizens of Los Angeles and the people of the Canoga Park area. We have a resolution signed by all of us, the mayor of the city of Los Angeles, acknowledging you and thanking you. And we have two representatives from the Canoga Park area, Main Street Canoga Park, our historian, Gene, and also Mary, who are here as cheerleaders. So we're not going to do a little hip-hop, but before I turn it over, I'm going to have our historian have a few words, because you've been in Canoga Park for many, many years, and Mary, you've helped transform it into the American City, which we received that award, and then we're going to hear from you, Denise. Jean?
I just can't say enough for this lady. She has done so much for the theater in Canoga Park, and a true dedication, and we're really going to miss her. But she has so much to offer, and she's going to a new job, which is absolutely fantastic. Maybe she'll tell what it is. And so when things go out, other things come along, and she's just a very special lady.
Mary? Mary Patterson.
Just to add that we've been so fortunate to have Denise. I don't know another theater manager that works so many hours, and she'll be very, very difficult to replace. But we definitely offer our gratitude to Denise for everything she did, and wish you all the best. Thank you. And thank you. This is beautiful.
Denise, for you.
Well,
Your turn.
I'd just like to thank Jean and Mary and Dennis for their very kind words, and also for the opportunity to have had these 3.5 years at the Madrid, and to have been able to build such a fabulous resource for the West Valley. It really was a pleasure, even though it was a lot of hours.
And a lot of aggravation.
But
you were there all the time.
No, it was a wonderful opportunity, and it has led to a new, even more spectacular opportunity at the Madison Project in Santa Monica, which is a brand new theater that will open in December. So I thank you, and I thank the Cultural Affairs Department and Valley Cultural Center for the opportunity. Thank you.
Denise, thank you. We wish you well. Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you and congratulations. Our final presentation will be directed by a council member from the 10th District, who will be joined by the council member from the 15th District, Council Members Herb Wesson and Janice Hahn.
Good morning, Mr. President and members. It's a great honor to kick off Black History Month in the Valley for the first time. The Valley is a very important part of what makes the city of Los Angeles great. So I think that this is a good thing for us, and I think it's very appropriate that we honor African Americans from the Valley who have put in a lot of work, not only to make the Valley a better place, but to improve the lives of hundreds and hundreds of people in this region. Okay, give us another mercy applause, Ken. I'm proud to be joined by a dear friend of mine for 20 years, Janice Hahn, and it's very appropriate that she's here. She's one of the few people that I know, well, her brother included, are two of the few people that I know that know every verse of the Black National Anthem. I mean, after the first verse, I'm lip syncing. But I mean, Janice knows, so it's very appropriate that she's here, and she alleges that she's an honorary member of the Black Caucus, but I submit to you that she is a member of the Black Caucus. Now, today, I want to put a highlight on Reverend Broadus. This man comes from a family of individuals that always believed that as you go along the way that you have to help others. I mean, he's got a history that goes all the way back to his grandfather, Zachariah, or Zachra. Born in the 1800s. And if I remember correctly, he was one of 9 children. Your dad was one of 19 children, and you are one of 11, and you have 6 and 8 grandkids. And all of them have been instilled with the work ethic and the commitment to community that started back in the 1800s when your grandfather was born. He had the vision and saw that there was a need to start a chamber of commerce, a Black chamber of commerce here in the San Fernando Valley. He didn't do it because he just wanted to create this segregated chamber. He did it because he wanted to empower people of color, and this chamber programs and dialogues with all other chambers from different ethnic backgrounds to try to make life better for all. We on the City Council are sorry a little bit because Mr. Parks is not here today, and Ms. Perry, who's our representative on AQMD, could not be here. But trust me, Reverend, they truly wish that they could be here. So they've given Janice and I the big job of presenting to the chamber, the African American Chamber in the Valley, a certificate signed by every member of the Los Angeles City Council. I'm going to present this to you now, and I'm going to ask my dear friend and colleague if she would say a few words. Everybody, could you join me in giving this man and this great organization that's been in existence almost 12 years a round of applause that they deserve? Janice, come on, we're going to take a... Oh, wait. There she is. And
All of you.
Come on. The great council person from the 15th District, Janice Hahn.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Herb. And I'm very glad to start off our celebrations of Black History Month, African American Heritage Month. And we will be doing every Friday of this month, we will be honoring those who have made a contribution to African American heritage. And I will say that Councilmember Parks and Councilwoman Perry and Councilmember Wesson and I have been planning these 4 Fridays in this month, and it should be a great way to highlight different people in and around the city of Los Angeles during this great month. You know, the African American Chamber of the San Fernando Valley Black Chamber of Commerce was actually chartered in 1916. And it was started by a group of business owners and executives to promote the growth of African American owned enterprises in the San Fernando Valley. And it's important because it was not meant to be started to in any way compete or take away from the Chamber of Commerce, but to find a way to connect many of the businesses that might feel disenfranchised in a way. And I want to say today, I've been thinking about this, and as the councilwoman that represents the Port of Los Angeles, what I always want to do is figure out how to connect this incredible international trade industry, which, by the way, is growing by leaps and bounds. It's like the one industry that will never see any kind of decline or softening. But yet I feel like particularly women and minority-owned businesses have a real disconnect with the international trade industry. And I know it took me a long time to get here this morning, but it's really not that far from the Valley to San Pedro. And I would like to take this opportunity to officially invite the San Fernando Valley Black Chamber of Commerce to come and visit with me at the Port of Los Angeles, and let's set up some meetings with the Port of Los Angeles so we can begin to get others throughout the city of Los Angeles involved in what I think is really one of the biggest growing industries anywhere in Los Angeles, and that's the international trade industry. So let's do that. That would be a great way for me to really connect to your chamber and to the Valley, and I want to do that, and I think that would be something we could celebrate next year when we celebrate you. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hahn. We have a couple of the council members that want to add their good wishes, Mr. Weston. First, Ms. Gruhl, and then Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much. And just so you know, Mr. Weston, Mr. Cardenas and I decided we're honorary members of the African American Caucus in the Valley here, just so you know. That will add to, hopefully you'll accept it.
You were unanimously.
Okay. I know Reverend Broadus would do that for us. But I wanted to stand up and thank you for acknowledging the the leadership of the African American business community in the San Fernando Valley. Anywhere you go in the Valley, you see Reverend Broaddus at all of the events and supporting and been active, as we talked about, business tax reform in the city of Los Angeles. How can we do that and help small and medium-sized businesses stay here, and particularly provide outreach and support, and that this particular business community and across the city with the Greater Los Angeles African American Chamber of Commerce and all of that, we worked with them to say, how do we combine all of our efforts? It's about getting down to the nitty-gritty as to how to keep businesses here and how to help them grow. Because when we talk about dealing with the issues of gang violence and being able to afford housing in the city, it's about jobs and creating those jobs. And the people standing beside you and behind you are individuals who help every day make that happen. So I wanted to stand up and say congratulations and thank you for acknowledging them. Herb, Reverend Broaddus is really part of the fabric as well of the city of Los Angeles and the Valley. Thank you. Thanks, Reverend Broaddus. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. LaBonce and then Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to stand and salute Reverend Broaddus and every member there. It's important to be engaged, and as Ms. Hahn spoke of the Port of Los Angeles, and we honored Lydia Kennard earlier and the airport. And for any organization to be connected to the city, it helps that organization grow. And Herb, I love the way you talk about the Broaddus family and their history here in the San Fernando Valley, and a school named in honor of your family and all the work that you've done. You've always consistently pushed for the awareness of people to make it better for other people in this valley and in this city, and I'm just proud to stand for you. And remember the cold night you invited me out there when I worked for the mayor, and you had that very special poet from Baltimore, whose name escapes me at the moment, but you're a special man with special people around, and with the 100th anniversary of the port, the only thing I was pushing, Janice, that maybe you have a great parade, right? You get that Port of Los Angeles in your parade, and then you start connecting it. I'm a parade guy, and I like when the departments come out, and so that's an opportunity to do that. Mr. President, thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Please, Cardenas is next, and then we'll hear from Reverend Brown.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank my colleague Herb Wesson for bringing this honor before the council and allowing the people of Los Angeles to see the wonderful work that we have here in the San Fernando Valley with many organizations, the NAACP, the Black Chamber of Commerce. You'll see these organizations in many events, be it business events, healthcare events, events for the children, when it's time for gift giving at the end of the year, where we're welcoming all people from all nations, from all creeds, where these organizations are a very big part of these events, or part of putting the programs together. They're a big part of the programs. And one of the things that warms my heart is if there's an organization or people in the San Fernando Valley who are working with youth and always incorporate them in everything that they do, it's these organizations. So I just wanted to point that out, and thank you very much for that honor of making the San Fernando Valley a better and special place because of the wonderful things that you're doing. Thank you very much.
And actually, Mr. Zion has added his good wishes as well.
Thank you. I want to also offer my congratulations. Janice, I love what you said. It's not that far from San Pedro to the Valley, which means we should have more council meetings out here at Van Nuys City Hall.
No,
right.
More in San Pedro.
Oh, well, see, it's... Anyway.
See what you started?
No, I think it's great. We did have one in San Pedro. But in all seriousness, when I was sworn into office, there was a Reverend Broaddus who was there, who had the prayer at the temple, the Jewish temple, a Catholic priest, and you were there saying prayers at the time I was sworn into office. And the close allegiance that we've had all these years, from the time with the LAPD on through now in the City Council. And we have Valley College represented here. We have the community represented here. We have a population out here who is living that American dream. We want to help and assist that. And I want to congratulate my brother, Herb Wesson, who I call Uncle Tanus.
Yes.
Because he crosses the border to Lebanon, I cross the border, and, we're brothers. We're all under brothers and sisters. And we want to make sure that due recognition is given. And we congratulate you for the activities that are taking place and encourage you to continue those and keep the community involved. And your involvement in this community is well noted. Every time we have an event, Reverend, you are there. Zeta Broaddus is there, and that's what's significant. And the other representatives of the city who are here of the Valley, we encourage you to participate more than you are now in the activities of this wonderful city and this wonderful San Fernando Valley. So God bless you all. And Herb, thank you for keeping up the banner and keeping moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, you know, it was council members Parks and Perry were very actively involved in putting this together. And I want to say again to you, Reverend, that we have a thriving African American community in Pacoima and Lakeview Terrace, and I'm so proud of the fact that you've taken the lead. In fact, my mother-in-law, I used to come to Pacoima all the time because that's where my mother-in-law lived. So with that, I'd like to present to you the chair of the San Fernando Valley Black Chamber of Commerce, Reverend Brodus.
I want to thank the council members for this opportunity. It's always humbling to be in the presence of giants, and I brought my giants with me.
Listen, introduce them, Reverend.
Come on, I'm going to let them introduce themselves on national television.
Melorita Fortson. I'm Yasmin Della Hussein from Valley College.
Wendell Teague.
Elizabeth Badger from Minority Outreach.
Christopher Elliott, Statewide Express.
Norma Harris.
It's not always a good thing to give a preacher a microphone.
Don't worry, that's why we have a clock. That's it.
I'll cover the clock.
However, it's always a pleasure to be with the Los Angeles City Council. Each council member has, over the years, blessed not only the San Fernando Valley, but me personally and my family as well. I thank you for the kind words. I thank you for your recommitment not only to the San Fernando Valley Black Chamber of Commerce, but to the San Fernando Valley community. We're all connected. We all have the same battles to fight. Most of us, if not all of us, have the same dreams and aspirations for our children and our children's children. So the struggle here is not an individual struggle. It's not a small segment struggle, but it's a community struggle. And the community that we speak of today is the community of Los Angeles, which is the best city in the whole wide world. And I just want to thank you. I thank my parents, my mother who is still alive and with us, Rosa Broadus, Mother Broadus. And I thank the members of the San Fernando Valley Black Chamber, because even if I may have conceived of the idea to begin this particular chamber, it takes the work of men and women who are committed to see change. It takes the work of men and women who are committed to make those changes and to give the sacrifices of their time and their resources to make not only the San Fernando Valley, but our community, the Los Angeles community, a better place. And again, Councilmember Wesson, thank you very much. Councilmember Hahn, thank you very much. I got to tell you this, and for whatever reason, the Holy Spirit has put it on my mind. When you walked in the room, the first thing that came to my mind is the fact that when Martin Luther King came to Los Angeles, the first and only person of any stature in our government here in the city to meet Dr. King was Janet Hahn's father. And that's a long legacy and a strong legacy to continue. So to Councilmember Parks, to Councilmember Zine, Tom LaBarge, Gruhl, Cardenas, Perry, Reyes, Rosenthal, all of Zine, oh, forget Dennis. Dennis is my brother. Yeah. But to all of you and to your staff, one of the things that I've been so blessed, and the chamber has been so blessed with, is the fact that each one of our council members have some of the best staff that I've ever had to work with. And
nobody ever said that.
And if it wasn't for the work of staff, a lot of things wouldn't get done. Let's just be realistic. So to the staffers, thank you so very much for your time and effort. And may God continue to bless you. May God continue to bless the city of Los Angeles. And may we move towards a more peaceful and more harmonious world. Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Reverend, and thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes.
it just is, the world is so small. I've got to bring this young lady up, Miss Delahousse again. Her and her husband run black college tours, and it was because of them that I was able to get my two older sons to go to college. They went to college in Atlanta. One went to Morehouse, and one went to, what was the other school? Morehouse. Wait till I'm having a senior moment. Morris Brown. Morehouse and Morris Brown. But give her a round of applause for all she does.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being a part of this today. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Cardenas, Gruel, Han, Weezer, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Westenstein, Garcetti. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Cardenas moves and Mr. Laban seconds. If there's no objection, those will be approved. Next order of business.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Those will be moved by Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Smith seconds, and if there's no objection, those two are approved.
Mr. President, do we should take up public comment at this time?
Let's run through the agenda first. We'll come back to public comment.
Okay, before beginning the regular agenda, there is a request to continue two of the items 6 and 13, and both requested to be continued to next Friday, February 9th.
Okay, is there any objection, colleagues, for number 6 and number 13 to continue those until the 9th of this month? If not, so ordered. Next items.
On the regular agenda, items noticed for public hearings. Items 1 through 5 are street lighting district ordinances.
Okay, do not have any cards on that. We'll open and close the public hearing on those. And any specials, colleagues? If not, let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Those are approved, even though some of them are to deny.
And actually, the ordinances go over for 1 week.
Right, we have less than 12 members, so those will go over 1 week. Next items, please.
Next items are items for which public hearings have been held. Items 7 and 8. Item 6 has already been acted on. Item number 8, the committee report has been distributed to the council members.
Okay. We'll go ahead and move. It's just one report?
Yes, it
That
is.
requires a motion, though? Okay, I'll go ahead and move that for Mr. Parks. And the 7 is receive and file, colleagues, so let's open the roll on those two, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
7 is received and filed, and 8 is approved. Next items, please.
Next items are items for which public hearings have not been held. Items 9 through 13. Item number 9 is confirmation of the commissioner. Do you wish to hold that on the desk for a moment?
Yes, please. Let's hold that on the desk.
And
we have a
that-
card from the public on that as well.
And that would leave items 10, 11, and 12.
Okay, colleagues, we will open and close the public hearings on 10, 11, 12. Any specials? 10, 11, 12. Seeing none, let's go ahead on the balance. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Those are approved. Next item.
And that would take council, do you wish to take up item number 9 at this time?
Let's go public comment. Okay, now it's time for public comment. I'd like to invite Jamie Cordara to come forward as our first speaker. Welcome.
Good morning, City Council. Welcome to Van Nuys once again as President of Van Nuys Neighborhood Council. Everyone is always welcome to attend our council meetings. But today's my issue is I want to address Mr. Cardenas. Mr. Cardenas, you lied to us.
Sir, if you please, will address the council as a whole.
You got it.
Rules of decorum. Thank you.
I apologize. But nonetheless, in today's paper, 2 crimes, both in the 6th District. Crime is out of control. It's up 42% in the Valley. We have no representation. Nobody is standing up to these gangs. Nobody's supporting the police department. I'm telling you, we need to do something here in the Valley. You're forcing everyone to move out. We cannot no longer have this take place in the San Fernando Valley. I've asked for assistance on getting a trade school, a vocational school. We're burying too much of our young, innocent young. They're dying at the hands of crime. If we put a vocational school in the Valley, at least we have an alternative education for them to go to. And I ask everyone from the City Council to work with the school district, to work with the community college, to see what we can do to bring a vocational school to the Valley and begin to suppress the crime. Let's get crime under control.
Our next speaker is Raymond Yu.
Good morning. For the record, this is Raymond Yu. I'm letting you know. Next Sunday, 11 February 2007, from 0600 through 1200, 6 to 12, noon daytime hours, there will be the 29th annual Firecracker 10K1 event will take place at 950 North Broadway between College and Bernard Street. However, Firecracker 10K once at 8 o'clock in the morning, going up the hill to Elysian Park, then down the hill to Grace Easterman's Lodge and Dodger Stadium, then once back to Chinatown, Los Angeles. Firecracker10k.org, 323-256-1363. Sunday, 18 February 2007 is the first day of Happy Chinese Lunar New Year, 恭喜發財 Year of the Bull Pig 4705, which is in Chinatown. Then there will be the 108th annual Los Angeles Chinatown Chinese Lunar New Year Golden Dragon Parade, which will take place on Saturday, 24 February 2007 from 14 o'clock through 17 o'clock, 2 to 5 in the afternoon. However, the Los Angeles Chinatown Golden Dragon Parade route will start at the Cathedral of Our Lady of Angels, North Hill and Temple Street, going northbound on Hill Street to on Alpine and College Street. Then the parade route turns eastbound on Bernard Street, then turns southbound on North Broadway, southbound Broadway to College, Alpine, and Cesar Chavez Avenue. The Golden Dragon Parade route ends at North Broadway and Cesar Chavez Avenue, disbanding zone before 101 freeway. For more inquiries, please log on to www.lagoldendragonparade.com, LAChineseChamber.org, Los Angeles Chinese Chamber of Commerce. Ground Floor Suite E, 977 North Broadway, Los Angeles, California, 90012. Destination Michael Jane, 213-617-0396. And Chinatown Business Improvement District and Council, ChinatownLA.com, George U, 213-680-0243. Ground Room 208, 727 North Broadway, LA 90012, covered by Pageant Tree Productions, CD1, and the Pageant Tree Production, HNCLA.org.
Thank you. Susan Rocha is our next speaker.
I'm asking you guys to change the noise law, to put decibel limits on churches. It's Chapter 11, Article 5, Section 115.02b. I have a church blaring their bullhorns on top of the church 7 times a day, every day of the week, and there's nothing that the LAPD noise enforcement team can do about it. I've spoken to the district attorney's office, Rick Schmidt, who said there's not a code for this, or churches are exempt from the code. But I really think he said that there isn't a code. That's why the code needs to be looked at. The code needs to be changed. Ed Reyes already sent me a couple letters saying, case closed, don't call me anymore. And so I'm asking the rest of you to look at an injustice that's not fair, that somebody can blast their bullhorns all day into my house, and that's legal. And I have to live with this ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ba 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 ba.
Go, please.
That's not fair to me. You don't want to hear it? Neither do I. I'm sick of it. They're going to put me in a padded room pretty soon. But nobody here gets it. This should not be legal, that you should be forced to hear something that anyone doesn't want to hear. There are laws on boom boxes, refrigerators, what time construction can start, but this can go on at any time as loud as they want. That's not fair. I'm asking you, the rest of you, to do something about it because he won't. He's already told me that in person. He's already sent me letters. He won't. Now there have been injustices corrected in the past because it's somebody else's area that you're not going to step on his toes. That doesn't go. That doesn't go. That you're going to let something that's not right go on because it's somebody else's area.
Our next speaker is Chuck Tenon.
I don't want to hear ding dongs all day anymore.
Mr. Tenon?
Good morning, council members and President Garcetti. Chuck Tenon, Valley Village. My theme today is what about us with regard to the living wage, poor workers, relocation amounts, and displacement of tenants. At the council meeting on last Wednesday, on the living wage issue, Eric Garcetti said the role of government is to make a win-win and reconcile the differences, and poverty is a problem for all of us. Government can help an entire neighborhood. Well, our city council's our government. What about us, living displaced tenants? Tony Cardenas said the working poor are trying to live. Well, what about us? Tenants have to live too. Business, the balance between business and workers is the same as landlords and developers and tenants. Workers need a better place to work and live, and tenants need a better place to live. So what about us, displaced tenants? Janice Hahn said we need an ordinance to protect living wage and workers. What about us? Protect affordable housing and living displaced tenants. Ed Reyes said workers need to live in dignity. What about us? Tenants need to live in dignity too. Jose Huizar said solidarity with workers. Well, what about solidarity with tenants? Living wages and poor workers go hand in hand with relocation amounts, displaced tenants, and loss of affordable housing. And another issue, well, I don't have enough time, but if you reach for the treetops, you get the roots. You reach for the sky, you get the treetops. But if you reach for the moon and the stars, you get more living values and growth. This city was built on dreams. Nothing is impossible. For thousands of years, people took simple situations deemed impossible, made it possible, seizing simple ideas. Just look around us. And Wendy Gruhl, I'd like to thank you for your hard-working, continuing effort and leadership in protecting tenants from bad development decisions, and saying that you'll keep a close eye on development.
And just a point of information, I know folks who are interested in that issue, we will, in 2.5 weeks, take up the draft ordinances from the LA City Attorney's Office in a joint committee meeting. So please log on to lacity.org if that's an issue that interests you. Thank you. Hugh James Hardman is our next speaker, and then Nadine Hardman. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm a resident of Van Nuys, have been for about 25 years. You may remember me. I spoke several months back. We've been trying to get ordinances and codes enforced on a Pacific property on our neighborhood, and it seems that there's a different set of rules for different people. I mean, we've had setbacks that have been ignored. We've had illegal structures that have been allowed to stay up there for too long. And in the process, we feel like we've been discriminated against because we've had to comply to orders. We've had to maintain the proper setbacks. And we feel like we're getting the runaround. And what's happening in the valley here is that, you got people living in garages, turning them into kitchens, and having 15, 20 people living in one dwelling, having 10 to 12 cars in the front yard, and the building department doesn't know how to enforce that because they don't know that there's any specific code that you can't have 12 cars parked on the grass in the front yard. That's what I've got to say. I think that, if you're going to enforce the codes, you have to enforce them to everybody. You can't give certain groups leniency because you feel sorry for that they need to have 15, 20 people there, and the only way they can do it is to live in the garage and let the garage be converted into a house. And then once the building department, please, Eric, if you give me attention, once the building department gave them the permits for this,
business, but don't worry,
yeah, okay.
Heard.
Once the building department gave them permits for this, they can't undo what they've already done. So we're just here to let you know that we've been trying. I did meet with Ron and David, and they're going to help me. But it always seems that we're going to do something. We're going to do something. We're going to do something. And meanwhile, we're the ones that have our property value devalued because of what the building department has allowed to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Nadine Hardman is our next speaker.
Hi, my name's Nadine Hardman. I'm glad to see my councilman here. I see a lot of empty spaces. I don't know if they're just not sitting. I'm here, just to back up what my husband just said. We've been going through this. We spoke 4 months ago. We have not seen one thing change. I am so disappointed. I told my husband from the very beginning, and excuse me, but I said I really felt that building and safety and city council were in bed together. I hope after all this is said and done, I can come before the council and say that that's not true. But right now, that's how I feel. We came today. City council knew we were coming today. They take my husband out, have a conference with him. We have asked for this at our home or anywhere way before today. It just seems to happen the day that we decide to speak at the city council meeting, they want to have a meeting with us. We've had open doors. We have had building and safety, code enforcement, health department, all at our home. Part of it was to go check to see our neighbor's house and look over our fence. We have open doors. We have nothing to hide. They have come to our house. They have really basically picked on us. We have heard that they have rights. Our neighbors have rights. Our neighbors have rights. Our neighbors have rights. We have not yet heard what exactly our rights are. This has been a little too late. And today has been a little too late. So what we have to do now, I guess, is take it to a whole nother level, because every time we call somebody, they say we're going to go to the next higher up. We go to the next higher up, well, they're going to get back to us. No one has gotten back to us. I am so disappointed, so disappointed. So very disappointed in City Council, so very disappointed
Thank you, Ms.
in...
Hardman. Thank you. Okay. Sylvia Hawkins is in City Hall, downtown. Ms. Hawkins, if you're in downtown, we'll hear your public comments from council chambers.
Okay, good. Good morning, everyone. I would like to say good morning to the City of Van Nuys public people. My public comment, as we say no on all alcohol, it is now 97% embalming fluid. This is what keeps them looking like big men ruling. As they continue to use steroids and embalming fluid, all whom have had a blood transfusion 3 times a week has been faking kidney failure. These are black people with Jewish blood after and before death. You can tell if
Ms.
they
Hawkins,
are
if you can
Jewish only.
make sure that you address
A
things that are
skin
under our
test
jurisdiction.
and
Thank you.
not by blood out of their vein, or by using a cotton tip strip, a stripper to spit out of their mouth to determine the difference. For example, after examining the size of a judge, once I went to court in Memphis, Tennessee, with a big man-looking appearance. He was not
Excuse
the
me, Ms.
same
Hawkins,
size.
for one moment. The city attorney
Twice
needs
as
to...
smaller than
Says the Mr.
the
City
judge that was
Mr. President, she still appears to be off topic, and
I thought he
it's
was
not within the
500
jurisdiction of the city.
pounds of
She should
big
stop talking.
All right. Ms. Hawkins,
I saw him walk in the hallway.
we thank you for your comments. Just as a reminder to folks, we can only hear public comment on things that are under our jurisdiction, even if they're not on the agenda. So thank you very much, Ms. Hawkins. Daniel Gus is our next speaker here. And then Brendan Huffman will be next. Welcome.
Good morning. I've written 4 op-eds for the Daily News in the past year about problems at Animal Services. There's been a slew of other negative pieces in the LA Times and the Daily News about Animal Services. Everyone is negative. And I wanted to go over a couple of those items. And I'm asking City Council to invite Ed Boakes to come here the next time you're in Van Nuys. And I'd like to work with either Mr. Smith or Mr. Zine's office, since they're on public safety, to kind of give them the background of the slew of problems that we've had with Mr. Boakes being here for 15 months, and see if Mr. Boakes will field these questions that I'd like to fortify the City Council with in advance of him coming here. My latest op-ed on January 4th in the Daily News, I expressed concern that Mr. Boakes was using the city's website to post a 3,274-word religious sermon in which he mentions God 11 times, Abraham 15 times, Sodom and Gomorrah 5 times, things of that nature. There's another problem. In a recent article in the LA Times, there's an article about how even though Mr. Boakes has been here for 15 months, 80% of the veterinarian positions are vacant. He says that these are problems caused by activists, but county doesn't have problems with activists. Almost every one of county's veterinarian positions is filled. These are problems that are singular to the city of Los Angeles, and Mr. Boakes really needs to come here and be answerable for these problems. There's another article in the LA Times where a woman complained to Mr. Boakes about a problem with animals attacking other animals in Venice. And about Mr. Boakes, she writes, "Oh my God, I don't think I've ever been more insulted as a woman to be compared to a raccoon." So there are all sorts of problems going on, and Mr. Boakes is non-responsive to them. And if you can plan this out a month in advance, I can have a busload of people here to support what I'm telling you. If you go to the shelter, he's got animals named Chronic and Zero and Killer. And how do you expect to save animals' lives when you have animals named Zero and Chronic and Killer?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments today. Brendan Huffman is our next speaker, and then Sharon Brewer will be after that.
Good morning, council members. I'm Brendan Huffman with the Valley Industry and Commerce Association. Thanks for participating in this session in the Valley. As you know, as we've communicated, we've been very involved with discussing the LAX hotel wage issue, and I've received more emails and phone calls from my members about this issue than anything I've experienced at VICA so far. So because of time constraints and also other issues, I just want to paraphrase that all VICA asks of you right now as you rework this ordinance is to remember to include a carrot as you redraft this. And VICA remains ready to work with you, provide any input you would like. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huffman. Sharon Brewer is next, and then Bruce Darian will be on deck.
Hi, my name is Sharon Brewer, and I have comments for CD6, but I don't really see him sitting in his seat. I'm a wildlife advocate for Lake Balboa. On January 19th, 2006, CD6 honored for almost 20 minutes the dog whisperer for his work. CD6 councilman stated during the presentation that he would do more for the animals in this city. He also said no more condoning cruelty to animals. Isn't birds being injured or killed by fishing line and hooks considered cruelty? What about dogs off leash chasing the birds and sometimes killing them? CD6 has done nothing in 3.5 years to stop the ongoing cruelty to the wildlife at Lake Balboa. Maybe City Council pay should be determined by their performance in their district. Then maybe this problem would be addressed. Council members have voiced their opinions about problems not in their district, example Van Nuys Airport, but in this case, abuse of the wildlife at Lake Balboa. Nobody on the City Council will step up for the wildlife. CD6, when are you going to stop the cruelty caused by the public at Lake Balboa? Mr. Labange, maybe you can help me because you seemed like the only person that cared about the pelican the last time. This is a pelican with a 6-inch lure, treble hook each end at Lake Balboa. They also have remote control boats that are chasing the birds. Dogs intentionally let off leash. Last Friday, 12 dogs in a 3-hour time frame were intentionally let off leashes to take and chase the birds. Please do something about the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brewer. Bruce Darian is next, and Noel Weiss is on deck.
Good morning, City Council. I'm going to expand what I spoke about the other day on the lawyers and law firms that are involved in the defense of the defendants under the False Claims Act on the Malibu Pier debacle, which also involves City Council members and state legislators. We have Attorney General Janet Reno, John Ashcroft, Alberto Gonzalez, and U.S. Attorneys John Gordon, Deborah Wang, Leon Weidman, Gary Plessman, Lisa Palumbo, U.S. Attorneys, Theodore Zinger, Bill Lockyer for the state, Ruben Beza and Lloyd Pellman of County Council, Scott Nave of Lamune and O'Neill, Ermin Rana of Lewis, Brisbaugh, Bisgard, and Smith, Alejandro Camacho, James Arnone, Stephanie Ord of Latham and Watkins, Peter Zomber, Matthew Pagodas of Murphy, Pearson, Bradley, and Feeney, H. Scott Serlin, Jeffrey Evans of Gordon and Reese, Peter Dabowski, Haight Brown, Bonstill, Michael K. Walton of Cosgrove, Verger, and Kester, Todd Crouch, Daniel Deek of Fonda and Fraser, Samuel Arst, Jeffrey Frazier of Silver and Arst, David Pasternak, State Court Receiver, John Patton of Pasternak, and Patton, Paul H. Levine, Henry Janel, Law Offices of Henry Janel, Mark H. Hoffman, Law Offices of Mark Hoffman, Edward Morrison, the Morrison Group, William J. Ray Jr., Edward Morrison of Lewis, D'Amato, Brisbard, and Bisgard, Chrissy Hogan, Hank Jenkins and Hogan, Neal and Myers, Daly and Heft, Mark L. Eisenhut, Call, Clayton, and Jensen, Timothy Lee, Law Offices of Timothy Lee, Ken Grossbart, Michael Yarrow, Law Offices of Abaluz and Grossbart, Frank W. Malloy, John Hunter, Hunter Malloy, Sausalito, David C. Weiss, David L. Nash, Robbins, Miller, and Cerursi. These are just a partial list of the law firms and lawyers that are involved in the defense in hiding the fraud, the defendant's fraud under the False Claims Act on this historic landmark. It's gone on for 7 years. It's continued. It's been closed for 12, and we'll continue with this. Thank you.
Noel Weiss is our next speaker. Then Candido Morris will be our final speaker for. Oh, sorry, second last. Then Mr. Dog is our last.
We don't want to forget Zuma. Council, good morning. The father of the Democratic Party, Andrew Jackson, famous line: "One person with courage makes a majority." The situation on the living wage ordinance, in terms of those negotiations, it's a little unclear how the workers are going to be protected, because you are not going to have a situation where we're talking about an overlay zone in 3 or 4 months. And yet, so I think it's important that the council, Councilwoman Hahn, obviously the head of it, stand up for the workers, make sure that these people get their money come July, because there's nothing right now in the current circumstance that gives these workers what was promised. It's a classic Lincoln Place situation. We have promise for performance. Again, they got their performance from you guys. They got the thing repealed. You relied on their promise in granting them the repeal. Now, where's the protection? This is critically important. And speaking of Lincoln Place, again, the promise for performance situation, we talked about enforcement. We're back to enforcement again. This council today, right now, can still protect those people at Lincoln Place. How? By calling AIMCO in and having AIMCO justify under 1227.1, they made a no eviction promise. The no eviction promise was violated. They got the performance, their entitlements. You have a procedure that you don't use. You don't enforce the laws to the extent that you can and that you should. And it's on every single level, whether it's development, conversions, tenant relocation, whatever. And so coming up to the upcoming budget hearings, I encourage anybody who's on this budget committee, give Gail Goldberg the money that she needs to have adequate enforcement so that we don't have these problems, create a structure, and we can change that bureaucratic mindset, and then I think we'll have less of a problem. One final point, Mr. Labange's idea about having some kind of ombudsman to take care of these public comments, I think, again, reiterated today, maybe fund them a little bit, have somebody that can kind of cross barriers here, and maybe we can begin to get some action as opposed to just...
Thank you. Candido Morris is our next speaker.
Good morning, Mr. President, council members, and again, welcome to the heart of the San Fernando Valley, where we hope to renew, rebuild, and revitalize the Van Nuys community. I really want to address the problem of the gang situation, and we're in crisis here in the 6th District. Our children are dying everywhere, and it's got to stop. But Ms. Gruhl, Ms. Hahn, especially Ms. Hahn, you tried to bring something forth that you got a lot of criticism from. The John and Ken show, they had a big thing about you. I called to try to get on there, but they don't put their money where the mouth is. They wouldn't allow me to get on there. So again, I'm asking this council to continue this fight. I've been here since 1991. The 6th District is in crisis. We're having too many things happen. We need your leadership. We need your leadership. So hopefully the mayor will have something, and together the council and the mayor can get together, and we can finally put an end to the gang problems we have in this city. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Our next and final speaker for public comment is Zuma Dog.
Thank you very much, City Council, for joining me in my private chambers. I spend here 30 days a week, 29 days a week, so it's a lot better. We got Candido Morris, I like to say. He's running for City Council, CD6. Here's a man who shows up every day. He cares about the community. I'm not getting into politics now, but I will say this guy shows up. He's in the community. He's caring. And look at him. This guy looks like a council member. Stand up for a second, y'all. This guy looks like a council member. Yeah. I'd also like to say, Council Member Zion, I know that the moratorium, the medical marijuana dispensaries are a big issue in this town, and you're not sure where the dispensaries are, and that is a problem. Of course, I'm pro Prop 215. I support the dispensaries, but, there has to be some regulation. They can't be too out of control. I say target the doctors. Right here, if Sergeant at Arms can come up, I got a list of all the dispensaries right here printed. They can be distributed, please, very serious, and they update it daily at ganjagrocer.com, and that's what those cards are from. Thank you. It's time for Zuma Dog State of the City. First of all, thank you so much. I'm writing an article for a local newspaper about SCAG, a regional article, and what a privilege it is to come here. I'm pretty gruff. I get really upset a lot of times over these issues, but you know what? It's a lot of fun. I just got to interview Councilmember Smith, Councilmember Zine for the article. So What better thing to come to City Hall, people, talk to your council members, write about it in the newspaper. This has been, I feel like the Wizard of Oz today, Dorothy waking up. We just had Jim McQuinston. He gave me a memo here of how to be more effective. It says, thank you for taking interest in the city, how it's being run. We need more people like you to take interest necessary. The KABC was talking about me. A caller called up and said, hey, KFI was talking about you. It's like we got radio shows talking about me. I was interviewed in Cape Cod for a podcast about my work here in Los Angeles. It's been an extremely gratifying experience, the diversity I've experienced. I used to work in the radio industry. I played pool with the Rolling Stones, dinner with Tina Turner, but this experience at City Hall with the community.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Doug. That closes our public comment. Yeah. And we will now go back to the items called special. First item, please, Madam Clerk.
Is item number 9, and that's confirmation of Dr. Yasmin Delahousse to the Human Relations Commission.
Okay. We do have one public comment card that we'll take before that, downtown, Ms. Hawkins. And I would remind Ms. Hawkins that what is before us is a nomination to the Human Relations Commission. If you'll please keep your comments germane to that subject. Ms. Hawkins, 1 minute, please.
Again, good morning. Thank you, President Eric Cassetti. I would like to this time to halt my comments and my information concerning LAX traffic plan to a later date. Thank you very much. My name is Ms. Hawkins.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hawkins. If there's no objection, by the way, colleagues will send 8 forthwith. And at this time, I'd like to recognize Mr. Labange. I think this came through your committee. Is that right? Human Relations Commission?
Yeah, thank you.
And ask the nominee to come forward if she would please join us here at the table. Oh, I'm sorry, it was Education and Neighborhoods.
I know.
But,
right, that's okay. But just the same here.
Okay.
You could sit at the center table
come
right
to
here.
the center table, please.
Sergeant, if you help here.
Thank you.
You do. That's okay. Good. Thank you very much. I think we have a great citizen in Los Angeles who truly is going to serve the city of Los Angeles well. Human relations is so important. If you want to just give us a little bit of your passion, it would be helpful.
Thank you. I'd like to let you know that I'm a 30-year career educator in the city of Los Angeles. I began my career at Fauché Junior High School. I've taught at Frost Junior High, Taft High School. Then I transferred and went to Pierce College. I'm currently a senior level administrator at Los Angeles Valley College and an adjunct professor at UCLA in the School of Education. My specialty is educational leadership. We train principals, superintendents, college presidents in the program that I teach in. Having this doctorate in educational leadership has really prepared me for the task at hand. And I will say that I arrived in this city in 1964, and I remember as a young child standing in my parents' bedroom and watching the city burn during the Watts riots, or the revolution, as some people would call it. And I remember noting that, I knew that this city was in trouble. And as an educator, I know that a lot of the problems that we have in the city stem from our educational system. And I know that a lot of our gang problems start in the high schools. Grant High School is across the street from Valley College. And as you know, there's been a recurring problem at Grant High School. So I, for one, am thrilled and delighted to be a part of the Human Relations Commission because I want to get involved in this problem. A lot of the students at Grant High School, they come to Valley College, and the one thing that I've noticed is that if you keep your ear to the ground and you build trust with these young people, you don't have the kind of problems that they have at Grant High School. I've been impressed with the work of the Watts Gang Task Force, and I believe that this is something that we can spread throughout the city very effectively. So I'll keep this very short and end by just saying that I know that the work of the Human Relations Commission is very important, it's necessary, and I want you to know that I plan to hit the ground running. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. You could see from Dr. Delahousse's remarks, her passion, and I think also, too, we remember as a child, as you reflected in 1964, 65, and your image is now as an administrator at one of the finest of all community colleges in the state. She'll bring greatness to our Human Relations Commission. I recommend an aye vote, and I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Ms. Hahn, who's our acting chair of Education and Neighborhoods, my apologies, is our next speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I certainly rise and support this appointment to the Human Relations Commission, and you're exactly really the perfect person to serve on this commission. I think your background, your education, your training, your keen insight really into Los Angeles and to what are some of the root causes particularly of gang violence. And I love it that you gave a shout out to our Watts Gang Task Force, because it is a great model, and the Human Relations Department in the city has really been working with us closely for a year now to have short-term and long-term goals for ending violence in the Watts community. And as you know, we are experiencing, I think, at an all-time high gang violence, particularly in our schools. Yesterday I was at Markham Middle School, and there was an anecdote which it was hard to believe, but it was that when kids go to Markham, we're talking 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, when they arrive, they're already being recruited by gangs, and they're given like a list of 6 gangs that they can join. In other words, to ensure their safety to and from school and in school. That was shocking to me. And I think it starts even before high school, where we need to get. And I think the Human Relations Commission will emerge, I think, this year as one of the key commissions in the city of Los Angeles to begin to address and recommend and help implement an overall strategy for fighting gangs. So I think it's time that the commission really takes its place and its seat at the table in Los Angeles for trying to end gang violence once and for all. So I think you are the perfect person to sit on this commission, and I wholeheartedly endorse your your appointment. I know, I feel like it's a candidate for him.
I didn't know I had an opponent.
You have to run for this, actually.
Your appointment, and offer you my assistance as we work together to try to solve this problem, which now has put us in the national spotlight in a bad way.
Well, thank you, and I do look forward to working with you, because I know that the community, I was in Watts last night, and I know that the community thinks very highly of you, your work, your time, and your effort. So thank you.
Thank you. We've been
Thank you very much. Mr. Zine is our next speaker, and then Mr. Weezer.
Thank you. I want to congratulate you on this challenging task. The Executive Director, Rabbi, is a wonderful job, and he's very, very involved. And he wants to have this commission support the goals and the activities. I know he's reached out to the communities, the schools, everywhere from the South Valley to the San Pedro, east and west. So you get on the commission, as Councilman Hahn has said, is very involved and very active in trying to turn the tide of some of the tragedies that we see occurring more and more. And it's not only the gangs, but it's that anti-Semitism and all those other negative factors that sometimes people bring out that destroy the relationships that we should have in a positive city of the angels. So I congratulate you on taking that challenge and that task. But Rabbi Freeling is a good director to really work hard at it. And I'm surprised he's not here today. He's got to be doing something important. Otherwise, he would be here supporting this commission appointment. But congratulations to it. You're going to have your hands full. And you'll have my support, and I'm sure this entire body.
Thank you, Mr. Zine.
I realize that, and I do take the challenge on, and I appreciate the fact that you guys are considering this appointment seriously, and that you do want a career educator on it. I think that that's what's been lacking on the Human Relations Commission.
And when we talk about the gangs, as Councilman Hahn knows, down in South Los Angeles, they've been there for many, many years, but they're percolating through all parts of the city now, and it's by the time they're in high school, they're gone. And it's going to be the middle school, the elementary school, where we really have to capture and get them on the right track. I know that reading the police reports that we're having here in the Valley, the incidents that have happened there, which have been commonplace, are starting to be commonplace all over the city of Los Angeles. And we're spending a lot of money, a lot of resources, But we really need to get to the core of that, and hopefully this commission can help achieve that for everyone's benefit. But I want to acknowledge Janice, who's worked tirelessly to try and turn the tide in that community where there's a lot of violence and a lot of hatred that we need to eliminate. So this commission obviously be at the forefront. The police department has to do their thing, but the commission on the other side can do the proactive and the positive to make it a better place for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Mr. Weezer is our next speaker.
Thank you very much. I wanted to congratulate you and thank you in advance for your service on this commission. And one of the things I wanted to raise to your attention, I think to all of our attentions, is we talk about how important it is and the need to continue to have this commission involved in our schools. Yet each and every year there is a discussion about how we do not fully fund the activities that we're doing in our schools. The city has sought reimbursement from the school district on various occasions. When I was on the school board, I was very supportive of that. Unfortunately, we still hear today that we're not having the sufficient funding necessary to do the work that we're doing at the school district. I would hope that in the next year we finally put this to rest, and we, as we're talking here today about how important it is, that we finally get this. It's not your job, it's our job as a council to make sure we get the work that this commission is doing at our school districts fully funded and even expanded, because the need is there. And as we talk today, the prevention that this commission provides is enormous. We wouldn't be hearing the reports we do today if we had expanded the work this commission is doing at our school district. So this is something I just want to raise to you, make you aware of, and hopefully working with the council and the commission, we could finally put this to rest this coming year.
Thank you for those comments. And I absolutely want to say that I agree with that, because last night in Watts, as we heard the speakers, you know, sometimes you think you can't be shocked by something. But I was shocked to hear that 6- and 7-year-olds are bringing guns to school. So you're right. We need to fully fund this commission, and we do need to go down to the elementary level. So I agree with you.
Thank you. Mr. Rosendahl and then Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Augustine Contreras was a young man who was 17 years old, gunned down in the parking lot at Venice High School. Gangs in the 11th District exist. People think it's only in the east side or south side, but everything flows together in terms of the gangs. And the Human Relations Commission got right engaged right away. And I know you will do the same thing. Can you just give me a sense of the vision you'll bring to the commission that will help us move forward in dealing with the violence in the gangs?
Well, as I stated, one of the things that I have been doing actually for the past 5 years is teaching at UCLA. And UCLA turns out leaders, educational leaders. So we actually are turning out the leadership in terms of the principals and the assistant principals. Your leadership is where it starts. At Valley College, which is right across the street from Grant High School, I'm the Vice President of Student Affairs, and so when your leaders are involved with your student body, I think that getting them on board and training them and being involved in trying to get to those root causes, as Janice said, is really going to take the Human Relations Commission in a different focus. So my role and my task is going to be heavily involved in the advisory capacity of working with the Human Relations staff members that are in the schools, whether it be elementary, junior high, or high school.
Right. That's very good. Just throwing out something that won't be really your overall responsibility, but we as a city, and we'd love to get your support on, we're going to be spending billions of dollars on reinvestment in our infrastructure, be it the airport, be it the police building, be it all these other things. We really need to create a central point for job programs for kids at risk, where we get rid of this felony concept and these other things and take these young men and women and give them not just after-school programs, but job opportunities. Over the next 10 years, we're literally going to spend billions of dollars on improvements to our great city. What an opportunity to link it with real jobs for these young people so there is a true alternative. And I look forward to some leadership coming out of this commission on that, but it's really the mayor and the council that have to do that. But thank you for stepping forward. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cardenas is our next speaker.
Thank you very much. We all have a lot of big responsibilities ahead of us if we're going to not only speak about gang crime and about safety in the city of Los Angeles and the surrounding community, we have a big task of trying to figure out what we're going to do better than what we've been doing in the past, which programs have actually been working well, which programs can work better if we bring them the resources and the tools they need to be better and effective in what they're doing. The reason why I'm pointing this out is because I hear all too often, especially from the press, I think it was yesterday, there was a headline that in Bush's budget is going to be $200 million to assist in gang solutions across the country. And being a former budget chairman of the State Assembly myself, and when I budget a $100 billion budget, I was only able to get $121 million for the state of California, which was a decent amount of money. Still nowhere near the amount of money that needs to be dedicated in California alone. So as I read the article, my fears were realized that it's wonderful to see that Washington is trying to attempt to do something, but it's a dismal effort in the sense that if you read the articles yesterday in the Daily News and the LA Times, the headline is $200 million. But all that means for us, of a city of 4 million people, is we can actually try to get, and I hope we do get, a grant of $50,000 to $200,000. Do the math.
Right.
That's maybe a nickel a person or something like that.
Right.
It's not enough. It's not what needs to be done. But what we do need to do is be honest with each other, with the community, with ourselves, commissioners, elected officials, the mayor, all of us, the police department, is be honest with ourselves and be ready, willing and able, over the coming months to work together to create solutions to make Los Angeles a safer place, but equally not only a safer place, but a better place for children. A place where children have places to play. A children where they have organizations and programs welcoming them to be able to be there, be it midnight basketball or tutoring on their homework, instead of hanging out on the corner with the people they shouldn't be hanging out with. That's going to take a lot of effort. That's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot more resources than we have on the table today. So I welcome your appointment. I support your appointment. I know that with your background, you get it. You understand how serious it is. You understand how complicated it is. And you understand that there are no silver bullets. So that's why I welcome your appointment, because you're a voice of reason. You're someone who's done much with very little in helping young people to realize that higher education is the way to go. Taking children that other people have forgotten and making sure that they believe in themselves, you believe in them, and now they have a testament to who they are because of people like you. So I support your appointment because you're a practical, very giving individual and someone who gets it. You understand what we're up against. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you. And we do have one more public speaker card. Reverend Broadus, if you'd like to come forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. There are no accidents in our lives, and there's no accident that for some reason I was blessed to be here, to be recognized by City Council, but at the same time to be here with Dr. Yasmin De La House, to hear and be here as she is questioned for her confirmation. I serve on the Los Angeles County Commission on Human Relations. I have worked with Yasmin for many years, and I just would like to add my name to the list of names that I've heard so far that have recommended her for this position on the City Commission. So, again, I'm just here to say bravo, City Council. Once again, you're making a very well thought-out decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reverend, and thank you for your service on the County Commission as well. With that, we will open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Congratulations, Commissioner.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Round of applause for our new Commissioner. Next order of business, please.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Reyes requests to be excused Friday, February 23rd for city business to leave at 11:30. That meets council policy.
Okay, he is excused.
Councilmember Smith requests to be excused Tuesday, February 20th for city business. That meets council policy.
He is excused for city business.
Councilmember Weiss requests to be excused Friday, February 23rd for city business. That meets council policy.
He is excused for city business.
And Councilmember Rizar requests to be excused Tuesday, February 6th for city business, for personal, and Friday, February 23rd, to leave at 12:15 for city business, and the motion is required, and that would leave 11.
For the Friday?
Yes.
Okay, I will move that. Ms. Gruhl seconds. Those excuses are granted.
And that clears the desk.
All right, colleagues, now it's time for announcements. You have any announcements? Ms. Gruhl.
I just want to, many of you saw in the paper today, and Tom brought this to me as well because it's from my alma mater, Rashid Davis, who went to Kennedy High School, who will be there on Sunday playing in the Super Bowl, and someone who came from South Los Angeles, took the bus to the San Fernando Valley to Kennedy High School, had to leave at 5, had to wake up at 5 a.m., didn't get to play as much football while he was at Kennedy because the bus, he would have had to take a city bus, which would have taken him 3 hours to get home. But he persevered, and if you read the story today in the Daily News, it's really amazing. His father was killed by a drive-by shooting when he was young, just really went against the odds. And so we wish him luck, depending upon, doesn't even matter which team you're supporting on Sunday, but one of our Valley's own will be part of that team on the field. And so we will be thinking about him from Kennedy High School.
Which team is he on?
What?
Which team is he on?
He is in the Chicago Bears.
That's unfortunate, but we wish him well despite that. All right. Other announcements? Mr. Labange?
Winnie, that's a great story about a young man who grew up in right near the Coliseum, really, and went by school bus out to Kennedy High and only played junior varsity football and made it to the pros after playing at San Jose State. And wonderful story, and let's cheer them all on. Have a safe weekend as we all cheer for our teams. I know Mr. Garcetti's for Indiana. And some are for Chicago, but let's pray for a good game. And at halftime, make sure everybody take a good exercise and stretch out and walk.
We will do that. Thank you, Mr. Labange. Other announcements? Colleagues, tomorrow the East Hollywood Community Association will be doing a large tree planting, part of our community improvement efforts and also part of our city's Million Tree Initiative. That'll be from 9 o'clock to 12. Bring your boots and your gloves. We'll be meeting at Cahuenga Branch Library at 9 a.m. And we invite folks to come join us and hope to see Virgil Avenue beautified through some of our tree plantings there. Mr. Huizar.
President, that reminded me about a great event this past Saturday where we planted over 560 trees in Estrada Courts in Bow Heights, an area that has been known to have more concrete than green space. And the residents were thrilled yesterday when I met with them Monday night that we are doing this $1 million tree initiative. And Mr. Garcetti, I look forward to seeing your 100,000 trees planted in your district.
And your 101,000, I believe?
My 101,000 in my district, yes.
Some of us can't aspire to that many, but we do look forward to them just as much. Mr. Labange.
So I'm fortunate with the 4,212 acres of Griffith Park, there's a lot of trees that come every year naturally, so I count those up. So I'm at 250,000, but we're going to have a tree planting this weekend at Runyon Canyon and welcome everyone to come at 9 a.m. Before the big Super Bowl. But it's important to plant a tree and put your hands in the ground and bring back nature to the city. So I thank you. And Mr. Huizar, as you know, with your initiative, I appreciate the trees that you planted. At my alma mater there at Cal State Los Angeles, there's a nice new bank on that road, which 1,000 trees could go. So talk to Dr. Rossiter out there, and I'm sure that'd be a good one. I'll help you on that. Alumni Association.
Thank you. Any other announcements, colleagues? No, if I could please ask everybody in council chambers to rise for our adjourning motions.
Put more trees. Thank you. I say that because I forget. I drive by.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. I'd like us to adjourn today in the memory of Alice Clover, who passed away January 28th at the age of 85. Alice was a member of the Army Nursing Corps during World War II, and while she was stationed in England, she met her first husband, Kenneth Hennell, and they married and together had 5 children, 2 of which were my good friends at Lutheran High School in the late 60s and 70. He retired from the Army at Fort MacArthur in San Pedro in 1961, and after 23 years of marriage, he passed away in 1968. And I remember it being very traumatic for my friends in high school. Their dad had died so unexpectedly. And then in 1970, she married Glenn Clover, and together they moved around but returned to San Pedro about 5 years ago. And she's survived by her husband Glenn and her 5 children, Nancy, Jay, Bruce, and Janice and Wendy, who were my good friends in high school, and by Glenn's daughter, Colleen, as well as 14 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. She's also survived by her 2 brothers and numerous nieces and nephews. Her services will be today at 3 o'clock at Green Hills Chapel in Rancho Palos Verdes. I'd also like us to adjourn in the memory of Miss Esther Nash Farrell, who passed away recently. She was the wife of the late Assemblyman Frederick Farrell, who served the 55th Assembly District from 1962 to 1966. She was very active in her church, First Lady of the Tabernacle of Faith Baptist Church in Compton. She mentored children for more than 24 years while also raising her own family. She's survived by her children, Frederick, Sheridan, and Stephanie, her church family, and many other friends and family. And one more, I'd like us to adjourn in memory of the grandmother of one of my staff members, Diego Valdez, and that's Candelaria Ramos, who passed away on January 27th, and she was 72 years old. She's survived by 13 children, 26 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren, and her services were actually held yesterday in Ensenada, Mexico.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Labange.
Yeah, members, I ask you to adjourn in memory of Danny Feingold, who lived to be 52, died too early. You saw his obituary in the paper this week. He was quite an interesting individual, lived in Los Feliz, had a beautiful family. Danny Feingold died at 52. As we adjourn in his memory. Equally, I ask we adjourn in memory of Sidney Sheldon, lived to be 89, one of the great artists of the world, who a writer, won an Oscar, a Tony, and a Grammy, and lived a full life. And finally, I ask we adjourn in memory of Roy Miller, who passed away recently. He was a retired partner at Gibson, Dunn & Crutcher, greatly involved with our community in many boards and foundations, including the Claremont School of Theology. He's survived by his wife, Jan. I ask we adjourn in memory of Roy Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Mr. Wesson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, many of you know my staff member, Michael. You see that he's not here today. His grandmother passed away, so I'd like to adjourn in the memory of young Choi, Michael Bai's grandmother, and the services will be this Monday at 10 o'clock, and I'll find out where and let other staff and City Hall know.
Thank you. We'll put all members on that. Yeah. Hold on 1 second for announcement. We'll do one more adjourning motion, and then we'll get to that. Colleagues, I ask you that we adjourn today in memory of a great American who passed away on Wednesday, Molly Ivins, columnist and best-selling author, who died after a long and recurring battle with breast cancer. The 62-year-old writer was a rare commodity in Texas, a liberal, who wrote a twice-weekly column that appeared in at least 300 newspapers. Based in Austin, her commentary appeared in national magazines from Harper's to Playboy, and her Texas drawl was heard parsing events on shows ranging from 60 Minutes to the NewsHour. She did not confine her humorous skewering to Republicans. She aimed at wherever she perceived pomposity or wrongdoing. And as evidence, 2 different presidents gave statements, one from President Bush, who Ms. Ivins referred to as Shrub. He expressed his condolences to Ms. Ivins' family and friends. Quote, Molly Ivins was a Texas original. I respected her convictions, her passionate belief in the power of words, and her ability to turn a phrase. Her quick wit and commitment to her beliefs will be missed. And recently, former President Bill Clinton took special note of her, saying, I want to say a special word of appreciation to someone who was good when she praised me and painfully good when she criticized me. Molly Ivins, thank you for being a great journalist and a great lover of Texas and the United States. She was diagnosed with breast cancer in 1999, recurred in 2003, and returned again in November 2005. She gave speeches frequently talking about everything from the First Amendment and surviving breast cancer, and brought her own keen observation tinged with humor to describe the dismal disease. Quote, having breast cancer is massive amounts of no fun. First they mutilate you, then they poison you, then they burn you. I've been on blind dates better than that, she said. She was born Mary Tyler Ivins in Monterey, California, but her family moved to Houston soon after her father was discharged from his duties in the Pacific after World War II. In high school, interestingly, she and George W. Bush shared a number of mutual friends. She attended Smith College in 1960, got involved in the civil rights movement, got a graduate degree in journalism at Columbia University, and her first newspaper job was in the complaints department of the Houston Chronicle, where she referred to herself as the sewer reporter. The Minneapolis Tribune hired her as one of the first female police beat reporters. She went on to become co-editor of the Texas Observer, and then the New York Times hired her in 1976. In 1982, she worked as a columnist at the Dallas Times Herald, and then the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. She wrote 6 best-selling books, and most recent being Who Let the Dogs In and Bushwhacked: Life in George W. Bush's America in 2003. And she was never married and said in a recent article that she has dedicated charitable bequests to her 2 cherished institutions, the ACLU and the Texas Observer. And in closing, she said, famously, "I believe ignorance is the root of all evil and that no one knows the truth." She's survived by her sister Sarah Ivins Maley of Albuquerque, New Mexico, her brother Andy Ivins of London, Texas, sister-in-law Carla Ivins, nephew Drew and niece Darby, niece Margot Hutchinson, and her husband Neil, and their children as well. May she rest in peace, and certainly her writings will live on for many years to come. Mr. Rosendahl?
Yeah, I'd like to second that, and having been a journalist all those years, biting our tongue half the time is thing, and it was great to see that somebody very refreshingly would call things as they are, and obviously knowledge is power, and the more you empower people with real information, the better the democracy works. But I also have an adjourning motion.
Yes, please. I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Marlene Salazar, who works for me, her grandfather died during the night, and she's right now working on the funeral arrangements. She took her father in and was his caregiver, and so really my prayers are for Marlene as she deals with this, and may her father rest in peace.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cardenas, announcement?
Yeah, I'd just like to announce that my assemblyman, Richard Alarcon, is here in the chambers. Just wanted to say thank you for coming to our Valley meeting.
Council member.
Thank you.
Great to have you here, Council member and Assembly member. Any other announcements, colleagues? All right. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Our next meeting will be Tuesday. That is the 6th of February in City Hall chambers downtown. We look forward to seeing our viewers and visitors there. In the meantime, have a great weekend, and this meeting is adjourned.